Heartwarming reunion. Millionaire discovers his college sweetheart hidden as his taxi driver. Incredible transformation unfolds. Jack Monroe adjusted his tie and took a deep breath, the city lights of downtown Chicago flashing as he summoned a cab. Another charity gala awaited him, another chance to network and flaunt the success he'd built from nothing. Yet, even as he climbed into the back seat, a hollow ache pulsed within him. The glitz, the glamour, it all felt like a mask. His thoughts wandered to Emily, the girl he had loved fiercely in college, the one who had been married to his ambitions but lost in the wake of his relentless drive. Tonight, he wanted more, something deeper than the accolades. Then he looked up, and his heart stopped. There, behind the wheel, was Emily, strikingly beautiful, yet wearied by life's burdens. Those deep eyes met his for a heartbeat, and a rush of memories surged through him. Late-night conversations under the stars, laughter echoing in their small Colorado town, the warmth of her hand in his. She had always been the dreamer, nurturing those visions of a happy life together. Now, the sparkle had dimmed, replaced by the weight of reality. "Jack?" she breathed, disbelief writ large on her face as she processed the change in him, the polished suit, the millionaire aura. He felt vulnerability wash over him. The stifling silence in the cab was both intimate and unbearably heavy. "Emily," he managed, a swell of emotions tightening around his chest. He could see the signs of hardship on her, the wiry look of a woman fighting against the current. She told him about her struggles, the late shifts, and her son, a lively boy who reminded her so much of the dreams they once shared. Jack listened, his heart aching for her. He caught glimpses of strength in her stories but felt the stark contrast between their worlds as raw and painful as an open wound. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the cab navigated the busy streets, he offered to help her, but every time he tried, she recoiled. "You don't understand, Jack," she said softly, a painful truth that cut through him. "I can't let you do that. I have to be strong for my son." He saw the fear in her eyes, a fear of losing herself and his wealth, of being regarded with pity. It made him question everything. Was his success merely a shield against the reality others faced? Her grit brought him down to earth. It was a reminder that real strength often shines brightest in moments of desperation. They drove past shimmering skyscrapers, yet their conversation hovered over a deep crack in class divides, a disconnect that left him feeling helpless. They both wanted the connection to rekindle, but he wondered if the road ahead would lead to reconciliation or further distance. Just then, a thought struck him like a bolt of lightning. How could he stand up for her next time? He yearned to show her that he saw her struggles, not just as something to fix, but as part of a life lived boldly against all odds. Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose blooming in his heart. He wanted to bridge this gap, to redefine what success could mean in a life shared. Their eyes met again, charged with unspoken promises, teasing the possibility of happiness amidst the chaos. As the cab neared the gala, Jack knew that this reunion was just the beginning. Would their past weave back into their futures? Standing at the crossroads of ambition and affection, he felt hope glimmer brightly in the dark, a spark igniting a journey of healing and remembrance. The gala was a whirlwind of laughter, music, and the soft murmur of clinking glasses. Yet, in the midst of the dazzling affair, Jack found himself lost. He had slipped into the familiar rhythm of networking, exchanging pleasantries with fellow affluent guests, but his heart was elsewhere. It longed for the raw connection he'd just shared with Emily. He stepped outside for a breath of fresh air, the chill of the night air hitting him like a splash of cold water. He leaned against the marble railing, gazing at the city's sparkling skyline. Memories of Emily flooded back, their last night together before life had taken them down different paths. How he had chased dreams, and she had, in silence, chased their shared ones. Jack's phone buzzed, breaking through his reverie. It was a message from his assistant, reminding him of an impending speech. But all he could focus on was the potential he felt in reconnecting with Emily. The thought of her son flashed in his mind, a small boy looking up at a world full of possibilities. "How soon can I see her again?" he murmured to himself, determination rising in his chest. Just then, he noticed a familiar figure walking toward him. Emily's silhouette moved gracefully against the bright lights. She approached cautiously, her expression a mixture of hesitance and curiosity. "Hey," she said softly, her voice breaking through the haze of his thoughts. "Hey." He smiled, his heart racing. "I thought you were going to take the night off from driving." She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture sending a wave of nostalgia through him. "I decided it was best to stay busy. Nights like this, I avoid getting swept up in the glamour." "I get it. But I'll always wonder," he paused, searching for the right words, "what if we didn't let our past slip through our fingers?" Emily's brow furrowed slightly, and he could see doubt creeping in again. "Jack, it's complicated. My life is different now. I don't want to drag you into whatever this is." "Whatever this is could be anything," he insisted, feeling urgent. "I want to help. I want to be part of your life again, Emily. We were good together. We still could be." "Jack, you're a millionaire now," she said gently, tension evident in her voice. "You move in a different world. The world I can't enter. It's a different kind of life, filled with expectations." Jack took a step closer, seeking to bridge the physical distance between them. "I can't pretend that I'm just living a simple life anymore, it's true. But I refuse to allow that wealth to define who I am inside. I want to know you, to support you, not just as a burden to solve." Her eyes softened for a moment, vulnerability flickering beneath the surface. Then the weight of doubt returned. She shook her head slowly, looking at him with a blend of admiration and fear. "You don't even know what I'm fighting every day. If I let you in, I'm afraid I'll lose myself trying to fit into your world." "I'm not asking you to change anything," he replied, frustration curling through him. "I just want to stand beside you. Help you hold those burdens. Please let me show you I can be right there with you." The air thickened with tension, the silence stretching between them, as the gala continued to pulse behind them. Jack felt the tension building, a storm of emotions ready to break. Emily took a step back, a resigned look crossing her face. "I need to think, Jack. It's not that simple. It's just not." Jack clenched his fists, wanting desperately to convince her of the truth he felt in his heart. If only he could show her how real their connection could still be. As she turned away, a part of him felt like it was breaking. "Wait!" he called, desperation lacing his words. But she was already moving into the crowd, disappearing into the glittering night. He stood frozen, unsure what action to take next. He had opened the door, but would she walk through it? Or would they remain forever in the shadow of what could be? As the night enveloped him, Jack resolved to fight for them. He wouldn't let their past be just a memory. He would either find a way to pull her from the shadows or risk losing her again, and in that uncertainty, he found his answer. What was he willing to give up for the hope of love? Jack stood outside, the sounds of the gala muffled behind him as he scanned the crowd for a glimpse of Emily. The moment had felt so fragile, the connection they once had flickering to life again, and yet it felt like it might slip away just as quickly. He ran a hand through his hair, the chill in the air biting at his skin, but it was nothing compared to the ache in his chest. He paced along the railing, his mind racing. Did she doubt him? Was everything he had said not enough to convince her? Every instinct screamed at him to follow her, to find her, but something held him back. What if she really needed time? But then another thought gnawed at him. What if time was running out? What if tonight was their chance to rekindle something beautiful, something they both deserved? Jack leaned over the edge, his heart on fire with determination. "Okay, think," he muttered to himself. "What do you want?" The answer was simple. He wanted Emily. He wanted her laughter, her warmth, the way she could light up a room just by being in it. But how could he show her that? His phone buzzed again, pulling him from his spiraling thoughts. He glanced down at it, another message from his assistant. A reminder of responsibilities. Typical of the world he had built around himself, filled with meetings, numbers, and obligations. Yet, standing there, the prospect of going back inside felt stifling. Could he go back to that world knowing that Emily lingered just outside, wrestling with her own uncertainties? Deciding then and there, Jack dialed a number that felt all too familiar. The call connected, and he wasted no time. "Hey, it's Jack. I need a ride. Can you send someone to?" He hesitated for a brief moment. "The gala on Bridge Street, in about 5 minutes." When he ended the call, he felt a newfound sense of purpose. Instead of going back inside, he would pursue her not with lavish displays and wealth but with something deeper. Something real. Minutes later, he spotted the familiar yellow cab. As it pulled up, his heart raced. With a simple wave, he hopped into the back seat, where the driver turned away from the street, catching him off guard before he could even catch a glimpse of her face. "Where to?" the driver asked. "Just drive through the park for a bit," he said. "I need to think." The cab rolled into motion, and he gazed out at the flickering streetlights. But as he settled further into his thoughts, a voice pulled him back. "You sure you want to go to the park? Traffic is slow this time of night." Jack frowned, instinctively familiar with the tone, the gentle caring immediacy in her voice. He turned in his seat, breath hitching. "Emily?" he asked, disbelief warming him from the inside out. "It's me," she replied, her voice softer now, almost guarded. But her eyes sparkled with something. Was it hope? This wasn't how he expected their paths to cross again, but in that cramped back seat, something felt right. "You're driving a cab?" he managed to say, disbelief quickly morphing into admiration. "Yeah, it's a long story," she responded, her gaze flickering toward the road. "I hope it's not too shocking." "Shocking? It's amazing," he said, his feelings bubbling to the surface. "I've been thinking, Jack," she interrupted gently. "We can't just pretend everything's fine because I'm your driver." He needed her to understand. This wasn't about wealth or status. "No, Emily, I want to know everything, about how you've been, about your son, about you. Let me in. We deserve it." Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel, tension palpable, but there was a glimmer of possibility in her eyes. The city lights reflected off her face, and he could see the struggle in her expression. In that moment, Jack realized that this chance wasn't just about a reunion, it was about fighting for what truly mattered. Just as he was about to speak again, the cab came to a sudden stop at a red light. Emily turned to him, her eyes searching his. "What if I told you that I've missed you, Jack?" she whispered, vulnerability in those words that threaded through the silence. He leaned closer, their faces nearly touching, the world outside fading away. "Then I'd say we need to find a way back to each other." But just as the light turned green, a noise erupted from behind them, a horn blaring, impatient and assertive. It drew them both back into reality. "Let's talk," he urged, a smile creeping onto his face. "After the ride?" Just then, the thought struck him, what if their reunion wasn't the climax he had hoped for? What if there were deeper challenges waiting for them on the way? "Emily," he said, a hint of urgency in his tone, "what if it's not just our past that we have to confront?" She bit her lip, her eyes wide with realization as they pulled away from the light. With their futures intertwined in that claustrophobic cab, both knew the path ahead would be far from easy. But the question still lingered in trying to reclaim what they once had. How many new obstacles were they willing to face together? Jack could feel the weight of the moment pressing heavy on his chest. Just a cab ride, he told himself, but it was so much more than that. It felt like a reckoning, a chance to face everything they once were and everything they had let slip through their fingers. The city buzzed around them, the lights blurring past the windows like memories retreating into the night. Emily gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles pale in the glow of the dashboard. Jack sensed her tension mixing with his own, and it hung thick between them, a silent acknowledgement of the distance that had built up over the years. "Let us find somewhere to talk," Jack said, breaking the tension. "We can't do this in a cab." Emily's eyes flickered towards him, uncertainty flaring briefly before she nodded. "Okay. There's a quiet spot near the lake. It's not far from here. With that, she turned the cab into a quieter neighborhood, the hum of city life fading behind them. Jack didn't know where to begin. He had rehearsed 1,000 different lines in his head, but none felt right now that he was here, in this moment, his heart racing, adrenaline surging. As they pulled into a secluded parking lot beside the lake, Jack noticed how Emily's grip began to relax just slightly. Maybe she was feeling it too, the pull of what once was, mixed with the uncertainty of what could be. When the cab came to a stop, Emily turned to him, her eyes reflecting the dim moonlight. "This isn't like before, Jack. So much has changed." "I know," he replied, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "But I believe we can change too. Some things are worth fighting for." "You're worth fighting for. Can't we just talk?" She hesitated, emotions flickering across her face: fear, longing, regret. Jack reached out, his hand barely brushing against hers, but it was enough to send electric sparks through the air between them. "I'm not the person you once knew," Emily whispered, a hint of pain edging her words. "I've had to be strong, to make it on my own." "I've seen what you've built," Jack said. "A beautiful life, a beautiful son. I admire that." But the truth is, he hesitated, unsure how to express the heaviness that had settled in his heart. "I miss your laughter. I miss us." His words hung in the air, and Emily's eyes softened for a fleeting moment. But then the weight of reality crashed back in. "I don't want to hurt you again," she said quietly, pulling her hand away, creating an invisible barrier between them. Jack's heart sank. "I'm not asking you to promise anything. I need to know if there is still something between us. If we can be honest about everything. If we can move forward." A tear slipped down Emily's cheek, and she quickly brushed it away. "I thought I could move on, Jack. I really did. But every moment, every night alone, I wondered what might have been. And now you're here, I'm here for you," he insisted, feeling time slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. "Not just for me, but for us. This isn't just about the past, it's about facing the future together." But then she turned her gaze to the dark water, uncertainty creeping back into her features. "What if the future is harder than the past? What if then we face it together?" Jack interrupted, his voice steady. He leaned closer, pouring all his heart into his next words. "You're not alone anymore, Emily. I'm not going anywhere. Not again." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unsaid fears and dreams, tangible yet fragile. Jack watched as Emily took a deep breath, weighing his words, her eyes shimmering with unyielding hope. But just before she could speak, a commotion erupted from a nearby gathering. Loud laughter and the blaring music from a late-night party pierced through their moment. Both turned to see a group of people spilling out of a building, carefree and exuberant, commanding the space between them. Reality crashed in, obliterating the intimacy they had reclaimed merely moments before. Distraction from their moment of vulnerability. Jack felt his pulse race, but it also ignited a flame of determination within him. He needed to make this right. With resolve, he turned back to Emily. "Let us get out of here. Just us. We deserve to fight for this, whatever it is." Could they really seize that chance without the weight of their past dragging them down? Was it truly possible for them to find their way back, like a compass always pointing home, in that split second, with city noise spilling all around them? Both knew it would take every ounce of courage to face what lay ahead, but the heart wants what it wants. And somewhere, deep down, they both knew, they were just getting started. Jack stepped out of the cab and immediately felt the cool breeze off the lake wrap around him like a familiar embrace. The city's noise faded behind him, replaced by the gentle lapping of water against the shore. He moved to the edge of the parking lot, glancing back at Emily still seated in the driver's seat. He could see the conflict churning in her eyes, reflecting the same storm inside him. "Come on," he urged softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's quieter here. We can breathe." With another deep breath, Emily emerged from the cab. Her shoulders, once tense, seemed to ease just slightly as she approached him. The moonlight illuminated her face, highlighting the unshed tears that still glistened in her eyes. It hit him all over again, the realization of how much he missed her presence, the comfort she brought just by being near. "Where do we start?" she asked, her voice trembling. It was the kind of question that left the door wide open, yet Jack couldn't find the words. "Maybe we just talk," he suggested, feeling his heart pound in rhythm with the waves. "Whatever is on your mind, let us share it. I want to know what you've been feeling, the good and the bad." Emily nodded slowly, her gaze drifting to the water. He could tell the conversation wouldn't be easy, but they had to try. She took a breath, and it felt heavy with the weight of years gone by. "I've spent so much time trying to be okay without you," she began, her voice quiet yet resolute. "I threw myself into work and my son. Every little achievement was to prove to myself that I could do it alone. I thought that if I kept moving forward, the pain of losing you would fade." Jack shifted closer, his heart aching for her. "But it didn't fade, did it? You had to carry that alone." "No," she admitted, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I had moments where I thought of you, the music we loved, the late-night talks by the lake. I felt alive then. But as I built my life, I thought those memories were just shadows of a time that was gone." "Shadows don't have to define us," Jack countered gently. "We can step into the light together." Emily looked at him, a spark of hope igniting in her gaze. "But Jack, what if we fall into old patterns? What if we can't move past the hurt?" Jack sighed deeply, wrestling with his own fears. "We can't control everything. I know that. But what I do know is that we deserve a chance to see what we could build now. With all we've learned. Together." The silence between them was thick again, filled with all the things left unsaid. Jack reached for her hand, steadying his breath as their fingers entwined. The warmth spread almost instantly, sparking a connection that felt both unfamiliar and achingly familiar at the same time. She hesitated before squeezing his hand. "You know my son means everything to me, right?" "Of course I know," he said. "And I want to be a part of that too, if you want me there." A flicker of apprehension crossed her features, but she pushed it aside with determination. "Then we have to take it one day at a time. I can't promise I'll have all the answers. But I'm willing to explore whatever this is, whatever we can be together." Jack smiled, a wave of relief washing over him. This was a beginning, not an end. As they stood by the lake, sharing unguarded moments, laughter began to sound once more, music and celebration drifting from the nearby party. But for Jack and Emily, the world outside faded. They were lost in their own reverie, and it felt right, filled with the hope of what could come. Just then, Emily's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. She glanced at it, her expression shifting from warm to anxious. "I need to check on my son," she said, pulling away. "I really shouldn't be gone long." Jack felt a twinge of disappointment. Yet, he recognized the importance of family. "Of course," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Can we meet again soon?" Her eyes shone with uncertainty, but underneath, he saw resolve. "Yes. Let us keep this, whatever this is, going." As she left to return to the cab, the air was filled with anticipation and a lingering question: where would this all lead? Would their shadows indeed burn off into light, or was their future just another dream broken by the past? Jack stood there, heart racing, lost in new hopes. And just like that, he realized they were only beginning to uncover the depths of their shared story. What might lie ahead was still unknown. Jack remained by the lake, the cool breeze brushing against his skin, feeling more alive than he had in years. A sense of optimism warmed his heart, even as he processed the fleeting moment they had just shared. She hadn't closed the door on him. Emily had let him in, if only just a bit. As the sounds of the party danced across the water, he tried to focus on the echo of her laughter, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her accomplishments. But with every passing moment, the weight of her departure settled heavily on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, fighting the urge to run after her, to pull her back and keep her by his side. Instead, he turned to the water, watching the moonlight ripple over its surface. Memories flooded in, laughing, dancing, dreaming together in a world that felt so far away now. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, but the uncertainty gnawed at him. Had they really crossed the bridge back to each other after all this time? Before he could spiral too deep into his thoughts, his phone buzzed in his pocket, jerked him back to reality. It was a text from his sister, asking if he would be at the family dinner this weekend. He quickly typed back that he would be there but added a half-hearted smiley face. Family had been his anchor, especially after Emily left. They had supported him through every struggle, the nights of sleepless worry, the pressure of running the family business all by himself. A familiar pang hit him as he considered how to explain his recent meeting with Emily. Could he even convey what she meant to him after so long? He glanced back towards the cab, hoping to catch one last glimpse of her. Nothing. She had disappeared into the darkened road leading away from the lake, taking with her all the doubts that had plagued him. The next morning, Jack woke up with an urgency thrumming in his veins. His thoughts drifted to Emily, constructing plans in his mind like a steel beam for a foundation. He had to see her again, this time not just talking, but with intention. He needed to share everything he had kept buried. After a coffee that tasted almost as bitter as his past, Jack took to the streets in search of where Emily might be driving. He felt a mixture of nostalgia and determination as he stepped into the world where their paths first intertwined. It felt important to retrace steps, to find threads of connection. As the hours passed, Jack roamed through different neighborhoods. He envisioned their future conversations. What if she remembered the way they used to banter? What if she laughed at his silly jokes again? Eventually, he caught a glimpse of the familiar yellow cab parked at a corner. His heart raced as he rushed over, breathing deeply to steady himself. He knocked on the window gently. Emily looked up, surprise washing over her features, but it did not linger long. The apprehension that spread across her face whispered to Jack's fears. "I thought we agreed to take it slow," she said, smiling but extracting a hint of hesitation. "I know," he replied, his words tumbling out faster than he could contain them. "But I couldn't wait. I had to see you again. I need to tell you how important you are to me, to us." Her gaze softened, and for a flash of a moment, Jack could see the old spark in her eyes. But just as quickly as it appeared, uncertainty clouded her expression. "Jack, it's not that simple." As the familiar chatter of the city wrapped around them, an awkward silence built, and Jack's heart plummeted. Could he really break through the wall they'd both built? "Let me take you out for lunch," he proposed, desperation creeping into his voice. "I promise, just talk. We can figure this out together." Emily hesitated again, assessing the weight of that choice. The air thickened with unsaid emotions as they stood at a precipice, both yearning for more but unsure of the next step. Finally she sighed, "Okay. Let us see where this leads." As hope blossomed in Jack's chest at her agreement, he couldn't shake off the lingering worry. What would come out in the light of their shared memories? Were they truly ready to embrace what lay ahead, even if it meant confronting the painful past? The haunting question sat like a shadow between them. The deeper they ventured, the greater the risk. And still, Jack found himself wondering, was love enough to bridge the distance of years once lost? Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him as Emily agreed to lunch. It wasn't a promise, but it was hope, and that was enough for now. They climbed out of the cab, the city bursting with life around them. The sun was high, shining a hopeful light that felt like a warm hug against their uncertain hearts. "Where to?" Emily asked, tilting her head toward him, a playful smile breaking through her anxious facade. He chuckled, secretly grateful that their playful banter hadn't completely vanished. "How about that little diner we used to love? You know, the one with the best pancakes in the world?" Her eyes lit up for a brief moment at the suggestion like a flicker of a flame, and Jack clung to it. He recalled a million mornings spent there, laughing over syrupy stacks as they plotted their futures. Something so familiar and yet distant, like an echo of a song he had nearly forgotten. As they walked, the chatter of the city served as their soundtrack. They passed by street musicians, kids chasing each other, and the sweet smell of fresh pastries wafting from a nearby bakery. The energy of their surroundings pulsed in time with Jack's heart, and he hoped Emily felt it too. When they entered the diner, the bell on the door jingled a familiar tune, awakening a nostalgic warmth. A booth in the corner caught his eye. It was their favorite spot where secrets were whispered, dreams were forged, and love flourished. Jack slid into the booth first, motioning for Emily to join him. "It feels just like old times," he said, trying to capture the spark of their shared past. "Yeah," she replied, settling in, but a hint of uncertainty lingered on her face. They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their thoughts. Jack fidgeted with the napkin, anxiety creeping back in. Did she remember the way he used to tease her about being a morning person? Did it mean anything now? The waitress, an older woman with a big smile, approached the table. "Well, what can I get you kids?" she asked, her tone full of warmth. Emily ordered the pancakes, just as she always had, while Jack opted for a simple sandwich. As the waitress took their order and walked away, Jack's pulse quickened. So he began, the weight of the moment pressing in. "What have you been up to?" Emily took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the diner as if searching for words. "I've been busy, you know. Work, life, trying to find my way, I guess." Her honesty felt like a small door cracking open. Jack nodded, urging her on. "That sounds, well, familiar. I've been managing the family business, trying to keep everything running smoothly." A flicker of recognition flashed in her eyes. "That sounds like a lot of pressure." "It is," he admitted, the burden of it hanging heavily on his heart. "But it feels different today. Like for the first time in a long time, I'm realizing what matters." She shifted in her seat, studying him as though she was seeing him for the first time. Jack took a risk, leaning in a bit. "I know we've both changed, and things happen the way they did for reasons. But can we find a way to rebuild? Can we start from here?" The question hung between them, charged with every unspoken word, every emotion left to stir in the air. Emily opened her mouth, hesitation etched on her features. But before she could respond, their food arrived, a smattering of plates that filled the table between them, creating an almost literal divide. Jack took a moment, watching her as she cut into her pancakes, wondering if his heart was beating too loudly. He took a breath and forged ahead. "I'm just saying I still believe in us. And I think we owe it to ourselves to at least see where this goes." Emily paused mid-bite, her fork hovering over the golden pancakes. She looked at him, vulnerability flashing in her eyes. "Jack, I don't know if I can open that door again without fear of what's on the other side." Then, the words spilled out, raw and unfiltered, "But what if the other side is everything we've always wanted?" As those words settled, silence fell again. Jack's heart thundered, lingering in a limbo between hope and dread, the question echoing in his head. What lay on the other side of that door? The future loomed uncertain, but he could see the faintest glimmer of possibility in her eyes. Would they step through together? The syrupy sweetness of the pancakes barely registered as Jack tried to read the emotions flaring in Emily's eyes. The silence stretched, thick and heavy, a tangible thing resting between them like the weight of unspoken dreams. Each passing second felt like a heartbeat, a countdown to uncertainty. "Jack," she began, her voice trembling. "It's not that I don't want this. It's scary. What if we stumble again?" He felt a pang in his chest. The doubt in her words echoed the very fears that had haunted him since they last stood apart. "I get it. I do. But isn't it scarier to never know what might have been? To not take that chance?" Her gaze dropped to the table, and he could see her fighting an internal battle. The waitress returned, placing the food in front of them. The smell filled the air, memories of laughter and dreams mingling with the present. Jack focused on the flickers of warmth in the diner, the laughter surrounding them, urging him to push through the unsettling tension. "Look," he continued, keeping his voice steady, "we can take baby steps. We don't need to rush. Let us just talk. If it doesn't lead anywhere, fine. But if it does," she met his gaze again, searching for something in his eyes, maybe even hope. "And what if we fall back into old patterns? Then we learn to break them together. We're different now, Em. We've lived. Grown." His words hung in the air, a bridge he hoped they could both walk across. For a long moment, she was still. Jack felt every second powerfully in his chest, and thoughts of what to say next raced through his mind. But just as he was about to reach out and take her hand, she flicked her gaze away again, looking lost. Jack, I just don't know if I can risk it. What if I let you in again and you end up leaving, like before? That fear wrapped around his heart, squeezing tight. I would never choose to hurt you again. I can't promise perfection, but I can promise honesty. That's all I can give you. Her expression softened, a hint of understanding blooming in the depths of her eyes. You mean so much to me. I thought I could forget, but seeing you again brings back everything. Then let us explore that everything together, Jack urged, leaning forward. As she stirred her pancakes, lost in thought, Jack half wondered if he should pull back. But then, she looked up again, and he saw it, the flicker of possibility. Okay, we can talk. But I need you to know that this won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is, he replied, a measure of confidence breaking through his nerves. The conversation that followed unfolded like an intricate dance, both nostalgic and thrillingly new. They shared stories from those formative years, the academics, the laughs, the late-night epiphanies about life's possibilities. With every word, Jack felt a piece of the barricade around his heart grinding away. It was strangely electrifying, sharing fragments of their past, shadows of a love they once had. Hours melted away before he realized how much they'd talked, their platters now empty. A teensy spark ignited inside him. Were they on the cusp of something again? Let us walk, Jack suggested, instantly wanting more of this newfound connection and a quick escape from the weight of unfulfilled longing in the booth. Emily nodded, that playful spark returning. Lead the way, Pancakes King. Jack smiled, shaking his head in mock pride. As they left the diner, the sun already dipped, painting the city in hues of orange and purple. But as they stepped onto the busy street, a sudden thought hit him. What if the past couldn't remain behind them as easily as they hoped? Jack hesitated, looking back over his shoulder at the diner that had been a sanctuary of memories. Would they really step through together, or would ghosts from their past emerge when they least expected it? His heart raced at the uncertainty, feeling that familiar tension creeping up once more. They were beginning anew, but was it built on the fragile foundation of their shared memories? As they walked on, the bright lights of the city glimmered above, but Jack's heart sank slightly. Was it too late for them? The street buzzed with life, the mingling sounds of laughter, honking horns, and the distant strumming of a street musician. Jack glanced over at Emily, her profile silhouetted against the glow of neon signs. She walked a little ahead, lost in thought, and for a moment, Jack couldn't tell if the distance between them was physical or emotional. Do you remember our first Halloween together? He asked, hoping to reignite that spark. Her head turned, and her lips curled into a hesitant smile. The one where you dressed as a giant pancake? Jack chuckled. Yeah, I thought I was being clever. You had that witch costume that you insisted was so last year. Because it was. I was trying to win the costume contest, not be the butt of your pancake jokes. She nudged him playfully, and for a moment, the weight of their past slipped away. They navigated through the crowd, and Jack could feel the energy around them alive, raw, and hopeful. But despite the laughter and light, the shadows from their memories loomed large. Would their joking take them back to innocence, or would it remind them of what they had lost? What about that time we road trip to the festival? He ventured further. You were convinced we'd get lost. But I had a map. You mean that crumpled old thing? She laughed, shaking her head. You had no idea where we were going. That's the fun of it, right? Getting lost together? Jack's heart raced. The sweetness of these memories mingled with the bitter truth of their separation. Emily paused, making him stop too. Her expression shifted from amusement to something deeper. I don't want to get lost again, Jack. The sincerity in her voice struck him. I don't either. But getting lost isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes you find something unexpected. Her eyes met his, the emotional weight hanging between them once more. As they stood still on the sidewalk, time seemed to stretch, their past and present colliding. But the tension broke when an unexpected sound pierced their bubble, a taxi screeching to a halt beside them. The driver jumped out, a young woman with wild curls and a bright smile. Hey! Sorry I'm late. she exclaimed, then stopped short when she saw Jack and Emily. "Oh, I didn't know anyone was waiting." Her enthusiasm pulled Jack and Emily out of the moment. For a second, they both blinked at her like deer in headlights. We're just talking," Emily started, embarrassment creeping into her voice. "Right," the driver said cheerfully, brushing off the awkwardness. "I'm really just here to pick someone up. You two look good together, though." She winked playfully and hopped back in, leaving them both speechless. Jack turned to Emily, surprised to see a flush of color warming her cheeks. "Did she just say we look good together?" Emily laughed softly, the tension easing a fraction. "I guess we do." As they continued walking, the ambience shifted just enough that Jack felt opportunities creeping back in. He seized the moment. "You know, we could still be that couple, Em. What if we really gave this another shot?" She hesitated, biting her lip, that old uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I want to believe that, but what if it doesn't work? What if we just hurt each other again?" Jack's heart raced again, not with fear but with determination. "That's a risk we have to take, right? What's the alternative? Living in our own little bubbles while we think about the what-ifs." She stopped again, eyes wide, caught in a crossroads of emotion. Jack could sense the familiar warmth that had always smoldered between them. He reached out, cautiously brushing her arm with his fingertips. "Emily, let's just take it one step at a time. Can you do that with me?" The air around them felt charged, the city lights above winking knowingly as if urging her to take that leap. But as Jack waited for her answer, the question that hung in the air was deeper than he realized. Was it about stepping forward or confronting the ghosts that still loomed behind? "And what if those steps lead us to an even bigger heartbreak?" she whispered, testing the thin line between hope and fear. Jack's heart felt heavy at the thought. Was the risk worth it? Could the promise of what they could be outweigh the shadows of what they'd lost? And in that moment of silence, they both knew something was about to change forever. Jack and Emily stood there, their lives intertwined by memories and fading hopes, both grappling with the weight of the past. The shadows of their former selves loomed, but as they exchanged uncertain glances, he felt an insistent pull to reach for a brighter future. "Let us not let fear control us," Jack finally said, lifting his gaze to meet hers. "We've experienced pain before, but it doesn't define us. We're stronger now. Together, we can create something beautiful right out of the ashes of our past. We owe it to ourselves to try." Emily hesitated, the flicker of hope battling against the shadow of her doubts. The city buzzed around them, life moving forward, while they stood at the precipice of a decision that could change everything. "What if I can't open myself back up fully? What if you find this new version of me hard to accept?" Jack wanted desperately to place his hands on her shoulders and impart all the love that surged through him. But instead, he held her gaze, his voice steady. "I've loved you since those days at college, and I'm here for you, flaws and all. I'm not looking for perfection. Just your honesty. Just you." Slowly, Emily nodded. The unfolding tension between them felt electric, and for the first time in years, he saw a glimmer of trust breaking through her doubts. "Maybe I can give this a chance," she replied softly, vulnerability etched in her voice. "But I need to be clear. This path will have bumps, and I can't promise there won't be moments of fear. I'm scared of what could happen. I understand. And I won't ever rush you," he reassured, a measure of excitement sparking within him. "But it's about taking those first steps together that count." Emily took a deep, shaky breath. "Okay then. Let's take those first steps." With renewed determination, they walked side by side, the evening sun casting a warm glow around them as they stepped onto the bustling sidewalk, a new beginning in the making. Each step felt lighter, as if the burdens of the past were beginning to dissipate like a distant storm. They continued to share laughter, emulating the playful banter that had once come so naturally. Jack felt the tension ease, memories flowing out like golden threads weaving them back together. In moments of honesty, they revealed their current lives, the chaos, the challenges, the love that pulsed beneath the surface of loss and fear. By the time they reached the lakeside again, the sky had turned to twilight, each star starting to twinkle, illuminating their faces with a celestial glow. Jack felt a profound sense of peace. A world of possibilities lay ahead. They wandered to a quiet spot and sat on a bench, their shoulders brushing slightly. "I still can't believe you're here," Emily said, her voice tinged with disbelief and wonder. "All this time apart, and now it feels different." "It is different," Jack replied, a smile creeping onto his lips. "Life has taught me that success isn't about wealth, but about connections. And I've never connected with anyone quite like you." Her eyes sparkled with warmth, and Jack felt a surge of hope. "So what now?" she asked, the question hanging in the air between them. "We take it one day at a time," he answered, as a calming breeze rustled the leaves around them, a whisper promising renewal. "Maybe we start by having a picnic, just you and me enjoying the simple joys together, like we used to." "If you'd like, I'd love that," Emily replied, her voice brightening, and Jack couldn't help but beam at her response. In that moment, the heaviness from their past lifted just a little more, making space for new memories to form. As they sat on that bench, the sound of laughter from nearby families danced through the air, a sweet reminder of the life they could build together. "I'm ready to embrace what's next," Emily whispered, and Jack felt his heart swell. Their vulnerability would carry them through, arms linked against the world outside. Just then, the night sky deepened, and the first stars blinked with a sense of certainty. They both knew challenges lay ahead, but now, with open hearts, they would face anything together. Returning home that night, Jack felt lighter, as if all the burdens of ambition had melted away the moment he chose to rekindle a love once lost. And deep down, he knew this was not just a reunion. It was a new chapter, their story unfolding into a beautiful transformation. Jack turned to Emily, her hand still resting in his. "Together," he promised, sealing the reassurance with a gentle squeeze. "Together," she echoed, hope sparkling in her eyes, a pledge born out of faith, love, and the courage to step forward into the light. As they walked back under the blanket of stars, Jack realized they had begun something beautiful, and this time, they would face the world hand in hand, and in that moment, everything felt right. Now, if this journey has touched your heart like it has touched theirs, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Leave a like immediately to feed the algorithm and help more people find this heartfelt transformation. And we want to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation in their own lives, because everyone deserves to believe in love again.